The betting odds are out, and Ilia Topuria is a ridiculously big favorite against Charles Oliveira for his second lightweight fight in the UFC. In fact, not only is he a 4-1 favorite, minus 400 against the plus like 285 Charles Oliveira, this is the second biggest favorite he's ever been. The only time he was a bigger favorite was, ironically, against Jai Herbert. His 2 lightweight fights are where he is the biggest favorite of his career. Against Jai Herbert, he was like a 5.5-1 favorite, minus 550-ish. And that's a fight where he nearly got knocked out because of the height and reach of his opponent. Now, of course, Ilia has gotten a lot better ever since. He knocked Herbert out. He became a world champion at featherweight, defeated Volkanovski and Holloway, but this is a different level compared to Herbert as well. Charles Oliveira is bigger than he's ever been. He's stronger than he's ever been, shown in his Michael Chandler fight, able to successfully wrestle Michael Chandler, take him down multiple times throughout the fight while still having knockout power. He has a 74-inch reach. He's 5'11". He's way bigger than Topuria. And Oliveira is just way too dangerous to ever be that big of an underdog. Until he's out of his prime, Oliveira should never be that big of an underdog. His offense is so dangerous, both in the striking and grappling, that he could defeat anybody in the world. I think the odds makers are making a mistake with that, because it's not entirely certain that Ilia is going to win, but the betting odds are reflecting that he is certainly going to win, which is crazy. And Ilia doesn't throw many kicks. He's not a long-range puncher. He has one range that he could be successful here against Oliveira. That is either if he gets close to Oliveira or Oliveira gets close to him. That is the only way he wins this fight. Whereas Oliveira has many ways to win this fight. Long to mid-range, on the ground, in the clinch, and can even land shots in close range as well. Ilia Topuria doesn't always keep his hands up. Oftentimes when he throws punches, even in his last fight, he will drop his defending hand if he doesn't land that punch or knock Oliveira out. Oliveira is going to counter and potentially land a similar kind of hook that he did against Michael Chandler, or an elbow or a knee, something like that. In fact, that's the exact reason he got dropped against Jai Herbert. He was throwing a punching combination, but because his opponent was so much longer than him, he was out of range. He dropped his defending hand and Herbert head kicked him. Oliveira probably doesn't have as good of head kicks as Herbert, but he's still good enough with those. He has powerful head kicks. If not, he can land knees and stuff like that. He's very strong in the clinch. It doesn't make any sense to count out Oliveira that much. It's so wild. Not even Josh Emmett was that big of an underdog. Now, of course, this is not to say that Oliveira is going to win the fight, but there are ways he can absolutely win here. This is not a foregone conclusion that Ilia Topuria moves up to lightweight and just destroys Oliveira. It's a very risky move from Topuria, especially now if he loses to Oliveira, he is beltless. He has no more titles. He is not a champion anywhere. So he doesn't even have the safety net of holding on to the featherweight title while he goes up to lightweight. He has to win. That could actually help him mentally to go into this fight, that the safety net isn't there, so he has no choice other than beating Oliveira. That can make Ilia a lot better going into the fight mentally, but Oliveira's been wanting to fight for the title again for a while. Both guys are going to be hyper motivated. It should be a good fight. Both guys have 5-round cardio, although there is the X factor with Ilia moving up. We don't know how good his cardio is going to be. He is a lot bigger than he was before. He has a lot more muscle on him, so that could weigh him down in the 4th and 5th rounds. Whereas we've seen Oliveira go all 5 against Michael Chandler. So the odds makers are underestimating Charles Oliveira. Like, I would not be surprised if Oliveira knocks out or submits Topuria. I also will not be surprised if Topuria knocks out Charles Oliveira. But even if there is a path to victory, a realistic path to victory for Charles to win, that alone shows that he should not be that big of an underdog. Because nearly a plus 300 means that that fighter has a very small chance of winning. And if a fighter can knock you out and submit you in many positions throughout the fight, and he's bigger and longer, and he's been fighting in this weight class, the other guy's just moving up to that one, there's no way that's just a small chance to win for Oliveira. So Charles does have defensive openings in the striking. If Ilia is able to work his way in, stay in close boxing range, he could KO Charles in any of those exchanges. But Charles Oliveira is very tough, doesn't have the greatest head movement, and that could be a big factor as to why Ilia could win. But man, there's also just so many different X factors with Ilia moving up to lightweight. But which fighter is going to pressure more in there? Because both guys are pressure fighters. Both guys like to push their opponent back to the fence and take over the fight. With Charles being the bigger fighter, maybe it's him pressuring Ilia Topuria. When's the last time we saw Ilia being pressured throughout the fight? With the size difference, that can be a big thing for Charles. We have seen Charles get pressured in fights and also drop his opponent too, like when he fought Jared Gordon. But Ilia is probably the best fighter in the world if he gets in the pocket. There's very few fighters that can handle him in there. He's so skilled, he has very good body shots, extremely powerful, and can take a good punch as well, but it's the long range, in the clinch, and on the ground. Mid-range could be very interesting, where it's like long punching range. Ilia can't really hit him there, but he can work his way into the pocket from that range, depending on what Charles throws out there. So if Charles throws out like a jab or a straight, and Ilia slips it, he can enter into the pocket and start putting together his combinations. So I'm not too sure that Ilia Topuria wins this fight. I honestly don't know who's gonna win. I can see both guys take it, but I'd probably say, as an early prediction, I might slightly lean Ilia, but I think this fight should be close to a pick'em. Neither guy should be a big favorite. Crazy, man, but we'll see if Charles pulls off one of the biggest upsets of the year. And statistically, if this is how the betting odds are gonna be up until the fight, that will be one of the biggest upsets of the year, especially for title fights. Even though I believe most of us fans that know about the sport, we don't think it would be. If Oliveira finishes Topuria, I don't think that's a big upset, but according to the odds makers, it is. It's a huge upset. And in other news, Arman Tsarukyan is saying that he's most likely going to fight Justin Gaethje next, and it does seem like that is going to be the fight. They're the only two top contenders that don't have a fight right now. Ilia's fighting Charles, Islam's moving up to welterweight, Dustin's fighting Max. The next logical matchup should be Arman versus Gaethje. And if that is the fight, Gaethje's cooked. There's no way he beats Arman, right? Arman just might submit him. Even though that's not usually how he wins fights, Arman's just so much better on the ground that it's going to make him look like a submission wizard out there. I mean, Rafael Fiziev got him an inverted triangle choke. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not that Arman has insane submissions. It's just that Justin Gaethje has some of the worst Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu I've ever seen in that weight class. He has great takedown defense. He has great defensive wrestling, but I don't think it's enough to defend Arman's takedowns. And that should be for the #1 contender. Unless Max beats Dustin, then it's going to be up in the air, right? I think if Arman beats Gaethje, Max beats Dustin, they should give Arman a title shot. And Max should fight someone else. Maybe the winner of Paddy Pimblett versus Dan Hooker, which would be the other fight. And that would be an interesting fight because Dan Hooker's defensive grappling is so much better now. He's got the striking, he has the chin, both guys can take big shots. But how does Paddy do when the opponent is overwhelming him with volume? From a longer range as well, because Dan Hooker is a long and tall lightweight. So I think that fight is excellent, actually. That should be the next one. And the winner of that should fight the winner of Max versus Dustin. And you know who just got signed to the UFC? The fighter I've been talking about for a while, Patchy is finally in the UFC. So he's the Bellator champion on a 7-fight win streak. He only has 1 loss in his entire career to Juan Archuleta, but has beaten Kyoji Horiguchi, Magomed Magomedov twice, Raufeon Stots, and Sergio Pettis. He has some good wins for someone who fought in Bellator, or the PFL, whatever. It's very confusing with how they still have Bellator over there. I don't get it. But yeah, he's technically the Bellator champion, and he's only fought on Bellator events, but hasn't fought in a year because seemingly nobody fights over there anymore. He's gonna be making his UFC debut against Mario Bautista. He could become the MMA hero, the fighter that finishes Mario Bautista. Patchy can be the guy. And only has 2 decision wins in that 7-fight win streak. Most of his wins are by submission, although he did knock out Raufeon Stots with a knee. He's insanely good on the ground and enormous for the bantamweight division. The guy's 5'11" at bantamweight with a 71.5-inch reach. So he's like a similar size as Sean O'Malley, but a fighter that can grapple. And with long limbs like that, is going to make his submissions very dangerous. This is a guy that Bautista cannot just hug against the fence. This is not a guy that he could just grapple and lay and prey on. It's kind of like the UFC is hiring Patchy to take out Mario Bautista, because stylistically, it's a horrible fight for Bautista. Bautista doesn't have great takedown defense. He can't stall the fight because of the way that Mix fights. The only thing that could go against Patchy is the fact that he hasn't fought in a year. That's the only thing. If he has ring rust, then it could be a different kind of fight. But I do think he's going to perform very well. And if he finishes Bautista, they should throw him at the top of the rankings. This guy defended the Bellator title like 3 times. And he beat actual good fighters. So it'd be awesome to see him fight like Song Yadong and Davison Figueiredo and Umar Nurmagomedov, Corey Sandhagen, something like that, you know? But he needs a good performance for his UFC debut. So what do you think about the UFC signing Patchy, which I think is one of the biggest signings they've done in a while? And what do you think about the betting odds between Charles Oliveira and Ilia Topuria? And I'll see you guys in the next video.